I hate coping skills. I hate them. Um, Hi, my name is Nicole, licensed clinician, and here's my dog. Hi. And we're here talking about everyday things that impact our mental health and fitness. Now, we've talked about goals and how we're going to kind of structure as we're approaching the new year. And now I want to talk about like how are we going to get through the new year, right? Because life happens. We don't just start from like a blank slate when we go into a new year, right? We want to like turn over new leaves and start new habits and all that stuff, but like the stuff that's already been going on is probably going to keep going on until that stuff gets resolved. So, how do we actually cope? What does the meaning of cope mean? Anyway, um, so the actual dictionary definition of cope is to deal with and attempt to overcome problems and difficulties. The origin of the word cope starts in Greek, goes to Latin, Old French, Middle English, whatever. And essentially, it means to meet in battle or come to blows. So, in all of these things, you are facing head on whatever it is that has come up for you. You are not listening to music and then going about your day. You are not going for a walk and clearing your mind and distracting yourself and then going about your day. You are meeting things head on. So there's a place and a time for helping yourself regulate before you dive into facing head on what types of things are going on. So what is an actual coping skill then if those aren't coping skills? Um, Cognitive behavioral therapy and cognitive processing therapy both are great approaches that have worksheets that you can do. And there's apps for both CBT and CPT that you can kind of go through these worksheets on your own. I would highly recommend doing it with a therapist. You don't have to like maybe necessarily sit in session and do it with your therapist, but you can certainly do it as part of like, your daily stuff. And then bring it to therapy to kind of unpack a little bit because I think that there's a lot of value in that unpacking. But so this is kind of what one of the worksheets look like. It is called the ABC worksheet. You can Google that ABC worksheet CBT or ABC worksheet CPT, whatever. Um, but the way that it's laid out is that there's these three boxes that you saw. The box A is the activating event, something happens. Box B is the belief or stuck point, I tell myself something. Box C is the consequence, I feel something. And then underneath those boxes are two questions that you can use to challenge yourself. So the first one is, are my thoughts in B above realistic? Think of it in terms of if I were to like have to defend this stuck point or this belief about myself to a court of law and I was getting cross-examined by, the other lawyer, would they be able to find exceptions to whatever rule I'm telling myself? And I'll explain that to you again in a minute. And then the second question is, what can you tell yourself on such occasions in the future? So, a great example that I think is actually in my book as well. Activating event, I build a porch and the railing comes loose. I tell myself something. I can never do anything right. I feel something. I get angry and I kick the railing. I also feel down and sad because I can't do anything right. My thoughts and be realistic. No, it wouldn't hold up in a court of law because I do some things right. So, what can I tell myself in the future? There are some things that I do all right. It's not true that I never do anything right. And I want you to key in on that also. When you're telling yourself things, are you using these like extreme words, right? Always, never, um, whatever. Because those usually are good indicators that whatever you're telling yourself is not that extreme. It's not an always thing, it's not a never thing. It's usually not black and white, right? Um, so the chances are that your thoughts in B are not going to be very realistic. So I highly encourage you to do something like this as your coping skill, right? You're listening to music, you're taking a walk, whatever it is that you do is a regulation exercise. It is not a coping skill. Coping skill is facing it head on. face it head on. Sit down with your thoughts, sift through them, sort through them. The cool thing about cognitive processing therapy is that as they go along, it's a structured therapy. I've kind of talked about it before. As you go along, you get more and more in-depth worksheets to kind of continue to challenge some of the thoughts in a little bit different ways and kind of identify different categories of ways that you talk to yourself and things like that. So it does get a little bit more involved later. This is a great place to start. The ABC worksheets, start there. You can listen to music while you do it. You can go for a walk and have the prompt on your phone and think about it, or write it down on your phone if it's safe to be texting, like, typing and walking, or dictate it if you feel comfortable saying these things out loud, right? If you're into journaling, awesome, great. You know what? Do a bullet journal or something like that with these prompts. But ultimately, you want to turn around and face the thing that you're running from, because you can use going for a walk and listening to music as a distraction and as something that enables you to continue to run away from actually coping with what is going on. So, take a deep breath. You got this.